respect for this world. But somewhere, we push the wrong buttons. Crime is out of control when the guilty have no fear of punishment. The prison systems are so overcrowded, jail times now have limits. War and taxes have always been the answer to government mismanagement. They fuck up, we suffer. Violence on the news, rape, murder, civil chaos is just everyday occurrence. Who do we blame for this mess? Ourselves. We should be ashamed to consider us civilized. Hatred and war are the guidance of our children. Close-minded tyrants with their terrorism bombs shield us from feeling secure in our own humanity. We are all in serious decline. Blood-soaked ghettos with gang violence, broken homes, poverty-stricken children lay hungry, senseless slaughter throughout the world. Seems everyone's a part of this dysfunctional family. Is global annihilation imminent? I pray not. Only time will tell.
This is Gary Legere, your host, and you're listening to In the Interest of Justice. Welcome to another law-making, or rather, law-breaking day. And here we are for show number 3. Again, this isn't something that, it's so all put together just yet. We're still trying to get the feel of this, trying to make something, get a feel of it, encourage everyone, and things have to be done, like a website. Yeah, so that's got to be done. That's going to take some time and also some funds. So I can't even give out a donate page if you want to donate to help this happen. But again, that's what the web page is. The website's got to be made for this show, just for this. So, with that being said, we have our co-host on, Francis Canigia, or what I call him Frank, and also Daryl Neely Odin in there in the background. And again, I don't know, I'm just maddening by this all because by the justice of what is supposed to be meant and dealt to us all, and also adhere to our rights, our civil rights of the Constitution that protects us, that grants us the laws and the ability and the society of which we're supposed to live that's being cut away from us. And more so, not just in the society of which we see corruption and treason and Nazism, communism, transtesticalism, all coming down upon us. But yet we still have one thing that they all face, and that's they hate, is the Constitution. And those rights and rules that apply to that Constitution, of which should be upheld in the most, biblical type of, scriptural type of way upon us in society, and how not just we ourselves are to be dealt and deal with each other, but also for those who are supposed to enforce it and deal with the law, and that has to help Lady Justice move her hands to decide. I'm talking about, yes, of course, the judges and the lawyers and everyone else affiliated with their special club of the bar, which does not really stand for we the people anymore. Why? Well, how much does it fucking cost you to get a lawyer to go to court and only to be screwed over by that lawyer, whether you win or lose? Either way, they're all adhering to each other in their special club. It's something to think about. All the laws that are being broken, which are the laws that were made and are trying to be made to break those laws of which adhere us to the Constitution and us as a people, as a nation. Our system is broken, just like our border, our country is being broken deliberately, taken from us. Are you all okay with that? Frank, are you okay with that?
Mike unmuted, yes. I'm definitely okay with that.
You're okay with our system being broken and our country
being broken? No, I'm not okay with that. Sorry about that, Gary. I'm working on your new motion under Rule 19. I didn't hear you exactly.
All right, well, we've been mentioning about the past couple of shows. Before we get into things, tell us about Rule 19. That's a good addition. And why not? There's no gag order on anything. And if anything, it would be to cover up their own corruption. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're covering up their own ability to steal your money in federal court under the civil forfeiture court. So basically, they came in making you a claimant with no rights, just there to say, hey, that's my property. They made a court venue for you to come in as a claimant without the rights of a party to say, oh, I own that $7,110. And really, it should be the other way around, where the court says, we're taking that $7,110. The $7,110 is the defendant. It's a thing that's a defendant. Just to clear it up before everybody what exactly admiralty law is. So for the audience, we say that, Gary says that he never accepted the jurisdiction of admiralty court, but he would like to be part of the proceedings and to come in under Rule C, not Rule G, admiralty court, but Rule C.
Because I'm not SpongeBob and I don't live in a pineapple under the sea.
That's correct. In Colorado, it touches no sea. And you are a flesh and blood human being honoring the law of the land. So what the government does, it takes this admiralty court, which comes from the goddamn British, right? The British admiralty law of the sea, and tries to apply it for you to be merely a claimant. So I'm doing a Rule 19 right now, and I've started it saying the following. Comes Legier and Duffy, who is Gary's wife, to be included as necessary parties, and that the court be enjoined from proceeding any further without said persons as parties. We proceed under Rule C in relation to admiralty proceedings able to weigh federal rules of civil procedure, not admiralty rules, but it's federal rules of civil procedure, and its rules therein. We invoke Rule 19 as persons to be joined. So that's where I'm at right now in the motion. I'm going to knock it off during this radio program to show the public how easy it is to do a motion and to stand behind the law and get them to do the right thing in the courts. So
they're not doing the right thing, and I'm only one person with one particular subject, while there are millions of you out there, whether it's criminal or any other type of thing, and you wind up in court, you are subject to what they want to force upon you to accept, which is this admiralty maritime law bullshit, which is those gold fringes around the flag when you go in the courts. You see those gold fringes. Our flag does not have any gold fringes. It's red, white, and blue, not red, white, blue, and gold. Think about that. The flag, we are surrounded. We are surrounded with what? The law of the nations, the law of the sea, outside, international waters. Is this an international court that overrules our Constitution, our constitutional rights?
And the supreme law of the land is what?
Supreme. Nah. It's
the Constitution. And the Constitution rules over the Admiralty Court.
Right, and
that's the point you're making in your papers. And they can't deny it. And if they deny it,
and that's the point.
And they railroad you, right? They railroad you and close your case, taking the money.
Without signing the orders.
Well, if they do, then Rule 60 allows a litigant to then take an independent action. And now you've turned the tables. You've now made the judge a defendant, and you are now a bona fide party. And you also pull in the United States of America as a defendant. And so then it's going to go in front of a jury, and a jury will decide what's fair.
So a judge cannot simply say, denied, 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 and he has to testify.
Yeah. So you put in a Rule 60 motion, and we fear the judge is going to take that, 30-page motion and just go, denied, no reason. And end of story. He wipes his hands clean of it, right? Well, this time, you're going to take a Rule 60 independent action. Now you have it goes back to trial court, in this case in the federal courts, and you have a right to a jury. And the jury's not going to do you wrong. They're going to see what this is for what it is. Okay? They took your money. The money was not related to a crime. They have no business holding on to it. They're the thieves. The government is
my property. It's my property. And what is that, Frank? That if I believe, I'm learning stuff, people. So I'm not a host with the most here knowing all this knowledge. I'm here learning just like millions of you, all right, that have been taken advantage of. And if we were to know this stuff beforehand, we would have better positions of ourselves than being reamed for thousands of dollars for lawyers who really, his job is not really to get you off or to get you what you want, but to come to understandings with the bar. And that's my opinion. And those of you out there, I'm not saying that with disrespect. I'm looking into the things I learned from Frank and about the law. It's like I have respect for it like scripture. Like, this is, wow, there's so much here that to have an appreciation.
There are a lot of good laws. And you can, audience, you can stand on them. You can stand on the law. Whether the judge
instead of having or breaking it, stand on our throats, which is what they're all trying to do now and take away to do to us forever, is they kill us all.
Well, they cheat you. They cheat you out of your money, in this case.
Apparently you haven't heard of HR, what is it, 5430 or something like that, or 40, I got to look that up. I'll bring it up during the show.
Right, the House of Representatives, HR, House of Representatives. So what does that bill say?
Basically, it's given the military no congressional oversights. They want to use it on we the people to round up those who basically do not agree with them, who do not,
Is that the one that Biden made an executive order?
Yeah, well, he was in on the decision.
Biden put that in? Who's behind that bill? Tell you what, I'll look it up right now. HR what?
I think it's 54. I got to find it again. I should have had it more prepared. I didn't think I was going to bring it up, but it just came to me. Alex Jones and Pete Santilli were bringing it up the other day.
Yeah.
Shit, everybody. Never mind our rights in courts and the fight for corruption. And then while you're looking it up, this is a great opportunity to bring up a couple news articles, which I'm not going to fully read. I'll read the titles, whatnot. But the show trial is a setup. D.C. Court will allow January 6th committee to testify against Steve Bannon, but will not allow Steve Bannon to cross-examine his accusers. Are we a fucking traitor? Think about this. They will not let him cross-examine his accusers.
Well, they're not a real court.
Of course not, but they are trying to make this the model of what that real court is going to be, because they're stripping us all of our constitutional rights and the Constitution itself. That's what
we see that committee hearing for what it really is. It's a sham, and everybody knows it. And basically, they are going to indict President Trump, but it means nothing.
Frank, constitutionally, yes, we know that. But what they're doing, since they took oaths to the Constitution and are the power of the leadership of this country based on that, they are taking that away from us. This is what they want. This is what they're saying. I don't care about your rights and Constitution. This is how it is. You're not going to cross-examine your accusers. You're not going to bring in witnesses. You're not going to...
And they're not going to find anybody to indict Trump.
Hold on. You're not allowed to mention the First Amendment. That's what they're pulling with Alex Jones. But, he's got to adhere to these rules in fear of not going to jail. Go to jail! 1776 is not a peaceful fucking protest. And I'm not afraid to say it. I am pissed, and I'm just a one person. According to them, a white supremacist terrorist. Give me a break. This has got to look. What's going on with this sham is obviously a sham. But this is the model where they want to bring our country into their new world order as they kill us all and depopulate the planet for their one world government. Okay, that's the reality. That's the model.
And I'll tell you what the ultimate reality is.
Therefore,
if the Congress makes actions like that, and they're unconstitutional, and they're brought to the court, and finally to the Supreme Court has no option but to deny those laws as unconstitutional.
Right, you're right, but guess what? Haven't you seen their other moves? They're trying to do away really with them. To bypass, don't listen to them. We're going to do what we want anyway. Give me a break. And now they want to pack it with 4 new trans-testicle libtards or whatever it is to overpack the courts and make it go their way to the Supreme Court. This has got to stop. This is an overthrow of our country. Look, any court cases that are going on now, if it's going to continue to be applied, number one, who's going to enforce it? And if they do enforce it, which will involve even the cases we're involved in now, even with me, Frank, with this case, it's going to mean nothing. If they enforce it, they are traitors and enemies to this nation of we the people and to the Constitution. Yes or no?
Yes, there's lots of traitors in our government.
All right.
Now we need to weed them out and get rid of them so we can have our government back.
Yeah, read.
So that's what the White Hats are doing.
Read HR. Well, I'm still looking for that name. If anyone out there, or Daryl, if you know what the hell I'm talking about, it's on the tip of my tongue, but to save time. But Trump responded to that after the charges. Oh, wait. Well, Trump is responding in the road. She's a grandma, is waving a little flag. They gave her 6 months. She's looking at it like a gung-ho Christian, and you know what? This is bullshit. And these people get let go. And like Trump said, we're treated so differently. Think about that. We're treated so differently. It will overspill to these courts. Looks like all the doctors, we were just doing what we were told, giving out calming shots that are not legal, that are not federally, federally granted to do, approved, and they're giving it to people. Oh, this will cure you. It'll prevent it. It's been doing the opposite. It's been killing people left and right. And the purebloods who have not taken it or coaxed into it by these lefty commie libtards who are overthrowing our government and Constitution. You want a fucking hamburger? Get a shot. You want a lap dance and get a hard on? Probably your last. Get a shot. How's that for a reach around, America? How's that for a reach around of what's being done to us all? Think about this. I'm mad. Now check this out. The Biden appointed U.S. attorney who dropped the charges now on Colbert's crew is also the prosecutor investigating January 6th. What about all those people who, without even charges yet, just in solitary and conditions that are,
I don't think there's a prosecutor in the January 6th committee hearings.
What?
I don't know of any prosecutor. What, for the case committee? I don't think there's a prosecutor there, is there? I don't think so.
I can read the article, but it's
go ahead, read that part.
Last month, several CBS employees who worked for Colbert's late-night show were arrested in the U.S. Capitol trespassing. Isn't that what the people were doing January 6th? All right, trespassing after hours, though, and harassing. Now, harassing, something that other people January 6th was not doing, banging on. Well, some did, what am I saying? But they weren't, harassing GOP lawmakers. The U.S. Capitol was closed at the time. All right, that a crime, trespassing in itself. Representative Adam Schiff let the insurrectionists into the building. Isn't that what they are now? Insurrectionists? I mean, why? It's only a few, and they're okay, but never mind the rest who do not, like the little grandma who has cancer and has got to spend the next 6 months in jail, holding up a little flag, walking inside our Capitol. But Colbert's goons were not the only harassing Republican lawmakers after hours, but they also went and harassed and mocked the families of the January 6th prisoners held in prison for over a year without a trial. Earlier Monday, it was revealed Stephen Colbert's crew was cleared of unlawful entry charges after they were caught inside a House office building after hours without permission. It gets worse. Matthew Graves, the Biden-appointed U.S. attorney who dropped the charges on Colbert's goons,
yes, but not in the committee hearings.
Was also the prosecutor investigating January 6th.
But there's also, finish that sentence. Also the prosecutor.
Let me finish. I'm almost done. Matthew Graves also works for the U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, another commie traitor. Apparently, only Trump supporters have to rot in prison for unlawfully entering the U.S. Capitol. It turns out Graves is also the prosecutor investigating January 6th. Fox News' C. Waters said, is he giving those guys the same treatment? Well, let me ask you people. Even the libtards, the testicles out there, while you still have a pieces left of a brain to think. Is that fair? Oh, and if you support it, that means you support the overthrow of our country, the overthrow of our Constitution, our rights and our due processes and the laws that protect us as much as what the O's had to take it for those to adhere to those laws, to deal justice, instead of subverting it away, giving it to some international court system. That's not American. Do you understand the difference?
I'll tell you what's not American concerning those January 6th hearings, okay? So you got a prosecutor in there, okay? I learned something. All right? Yeah, you got a prosecutor in there, all right? And he's presenting to who? The committee, okay? Was that the committee's the jury? Was that jury chosen, by, basically the civil case? You have a voir dire, okay? It's called a voir dire, where both sides decide on who the jury is.
Right.
That's not the case with January 6th.
Right.
Okay? That's a fixed jury. It's a fixed jury. And everybody knows it. It's an unselect committee.
Right. But
They were not selected. They were unselected.
Here's what concerns me, though, Frank, more so than that. Okay, that is distraction, really, as serious it is, to the real model of how they're setting up their law of justice in this country. That's the
It's
system.
backfired, Gary. Everybody knows it's a sham proceeding.
340 or 60, what the hell? Damn, what is that damn number? I gotta get that before the end of the show so I can let everyone know the seriousness of this. And what's going on? It was just putting over $2,000 bills that had to be signed within only a couple hours, and they love putting everything in there. Oh, and also the forced red flags for the Second Amendment was thrown in there, even though it was deemed already unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. Am I right there, Frank, or am I misspeaking?
What do you mean, the forced red flags?
The red flag laws.
Red flag laws. Okay.
The disarmament program. That's what it really is.
Red
Disarmament.
flag laws embedded in this HR bill. It's not,
Yes.
even a gun law. It's not even a gun law.
Amongst other things, get ready for the
Do you
UN.
really think that bill's going to pass? We'll start with that. The bill's not going to pass.
Frank, they passed it.
They passed it. They passed it maybe in the House of Representatives. But now it has to go, if you know your system. Now it has to go to the Senate. It won't pass here.
You're not understanding, let me speak for a second, you're not understanding the other side of that bill. It's to round up any and all who go against them. Republicans, people who support Trump, people who say we have a free amendment, First Amendment, Second Amendment. It's to round people up, put them in camps, and it's not just by our own military. Remember, Obama wanted to create a secret military police force here that's more powerful than our defense forces. And so what they did, they granted the UN comes in. The UN security, and who are they? Who's running the UN? The politics. It would be them coming along in this country, giving orders to our military, having only military members in there who will shoot upon the American public because we must be weeded out because we are the terrorists. That's its words. We are the Iraqis now. We are the Afghanistans now. We are the Syrians now. That's their law system, and what they're seeing, what we're seeing as the farce, is to take over and we're getting a taste of the model of the type of court systems they're going to have here in America. You will not be able to defend yourself. You will not be able to contradict. You will not be able to cross-examine. You will not be able to...
I found HR 350. Okay.
It's not 350. I got to find it. It's 4 numbers.
Domestic Terrorism Prevention Act.
Right, but that's not this one that was recently passed. That was probably thrown in it. I mean, this thing is so horrendous. You guys have to go to hear that. I wish that once the website's up in the archive page, I'm going to make sure to put that link to that. So that means I got to make a page for this fast. So at least people can access before we have our website going, because this is very important. And why am I so mad? Because, again, it's not just what's happening to me and us all in the court systems. And now it's right in our face of what these treasonous leaders who have done to us. And they're openly using international collaboration. What is that? Collusion? They're the colluders. And they want to take us down, and they want to indict Trump or assassinate him. Shinzo Abe was just recently assassinated. What happened? The commie chicks are partying in the streets. All right. Now, what do you think would be if the target so happens and they would get our most beloved President Trump, as long as he still represents we the people? He needs to address this new thing that was signed to we the people at this next rally, I hope. He needs to up the ante on telling us on what the hell's going on in this country and now what he intends to do about it. You want my support, Trump? It's time to address this, and I most lovingly, peacefully, on your True Social there sent you that yesterday, that Truth post yesterday. Something needs to be done. People are liking it too, and that's the most frightening thing. We are already being destroyed. Are we going to wait for you and these planners to trust this plan and bring us to the brink to when, if and when we do act, we are in no position to do anything to overthrow them who are standing on our throats. Am I an extremist? Am I a white supremacist terrorist? No. Red, white, and blue is what we are. And our replacements are coming in over the border, also being used as their foot soldiers, which they shall, to murder us and take our homes for themselves. Because they don't mind living on the boot or living to a new world order where they come from, where they don't understand and have the freedoms that we did. But even here, we don't understand, Frank, and everyone else, the laws and the freedoms are appreciated because that's been usurped and that's what's being taken from us, and that's what people like Frank is fighting so hard for, not just for me, but because his passion for the law, like many other lawyers who are good and to take this shit seriously, I'm telling you, Frank, I got a better respect for lawyers and what's involved in this. But when you do that and you see the crooked ones, it just pisses me off. It's just like being fake Christians. It's even worse than that. So I think it's time. Look, we should we have a guest today, Frank, Cheryl. All right, Cheryl Kennedy. So let me tell you a little bit about her. Hopefully she's on that timeline now. But Cheryl began her fight against fraud on the court crimes, and she began a corruption freedom fighter, a rights activist, and a whistleblower. And this was a couple paragraphs, but believe me, it's even longer. I'm going to make it short. Those of you out there that know me, how often is that? But the essential, this seemed to be a natural progression after experiencing the destruction of 3 self-employed businesses due to these crimes. It's that time I gotta get glasses, I think. But fraud on the court occurs when officers of the court, particularly judges and attorneys, commits fraud by way of mutual misrepresentations or perjury, whereby the judicial machinery of the court process becomes corrupted. When this occurs, all court orders and judgments are rendered null and void, plus no statute of limitations exists. Boy, look at that with everything we're dealing with now, Frank. Not just me, but overall in this nation and what's being done to us. Who's going to enforce it when the enforcers are coming in to put the boot on our necks? But yet, 1776, wave our flags, that ain't gonna stop them from mowing you down. But while engaged in this fight, she discovered a sham driven by total corruption that exists in the U.S. court system, as well as state and U.S. government operations. Again, are these people crazy? No, not so much anymore. It sounds like a wisp of fresh air coming in, blowing the winds of truth that smells like shit. But throughout her nearly 20 tenure in the securities industry, she came to understand the breadth of fraud that exists within that industry. As a securities trader, Cheryl easily identified the obvious banking foreclosures derivative debacle as being intentionally planned, plotted, and perpetrated by the Federal Reserve. Again, that's not federal. They're international banker cartel of criminals who are the ones that are trying to kill us all, have their bait reset because they fucked us all over the years, and they're reaping the rewards even while trying to kill us. How many billions do they make for the commie shots? It's free. Come get you. It's a donut. You trans-testicle moron. All right, and the banks in the U.S. Congress. Now, the fraudulent lending practices and hype created with artificial derivatives plus real estate market bubble would cause an appalling atrocity. People would experience these personal assaults in their own homes. This horrendous scenario is extremely different from that which occurs within the investing practices in the stock market. It seems that millions of homes could be and would be blatantly stolen, causing harm to an exorbitant number of private property owners. These practices would come in the form of direct violations on each individual's Fourth Amendment rights as under the U.S. Constitution, which, remember today, means shit to these people. They're doing it and they're showing it on TV, and no one's breaking in there 1776 in their ass.
Okay, Gary, she's waiting on the line, so she has limited.
Well, that was quite the what do I want to say? The
introduction.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Let me read the last sentence of this bio.
Introduction.
This rampage of crooks and terrorists operates in all offices of government, which easily we see now. Who knows how old this bio is, right? Predictive programming and many private sectors, including judges, attorneys, sheriffs, district attorneys, county court recorders, realtors, bankers, and politicians. Tell me we have not been infiltrated by commies and Marxists and trans-testicles.
Oh my gosh, it's very infiltrated. So infiltrated, it's unbelievable.
Yes,
unbelievable.
I know, right? So you have a lot on your plate and the things you've been doing. I don't know if you heard the opening of the show and all that was said up until now, but I think you would agree with me, and even though I'm crazy.
You are a wild man. I haven't really listened to you, so you're out there talking it up. That's great. Because it needs to be spoken about. It's so covered up and hidden. The courts, as Francis and I met, I don't know how many years ago we met, but we've met about court corruption. And so we've known each other quite a long time. And we really just reconnected in the last, year. And it's one of the biggest cover-ups with the media, the mainstream media. So the only way it's ever really spoken about really is by people who are victimized by the system or who learn about it. And then, they defend their rights, and only to be, my rights as an American are so violated, it's unbelievable the amount of rights violations I've had and the assaults I've had by these psychos. You really have these psychopaths, sociopaths, especially a lot of them are attorneys. Plus, they're very British. The British Bar, the Bar Association, is very British usurped. Besides all the mafias and all the other usurpations that exist in every county government, every aspect of state government, and of course D.C. is a cesspool there. People who do not represent any American. They represent the corporate USA, which has been so infiltrated for years. And so we really need military intervention, because that's the only way it's ever going to get resolved, or people arrested, because no one arrests anybody. And it's so people are going in these courts every day, and there's new assaults happening every day because the same criminals just sit free. And at your family's expense or other families' expense, their children. I mean, they go on about abortion in D.C., the biggest ruse Supreme Court for years. How many times have you seen the D.C. Supreme Court go on about abortion, right, which shouldn't even be a topic at all. It should just be an individual right. Who's to say you should or shouldn't have an abortion? There's so many. I can see there's religious zealots, of course, or Catholics. But how many nationalities are in this country that don't agree? It shouldn't even be a topic, but they bring it up. Meanwhile, the Constitution and all the Supreme Court system and all the state courts are so violated. It's unbelievable. And there's no oversight. There's no accountability. All the politicians are no jurisdictional jackasses. They all turn a blind eye. No one knows, will help anybody. The only people who are, the only one who's going to help you, I just want to say this, in California, I went to, how I really started this, because I'm defrauded by an attorney, but I started going to the sheriff, the cops, no one has jurisdiction, and then I really ended up in the political realm, because I ended up subpoenaing Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger to a jury trial against his attorney, because I'm being, brutalized by these people. And the bar was so crooked, and the only one who will do any oversight is the State Bar of California or the Judicial, the Commission on Judicial Performance, which the Commission on Judicial Performance about a few years ago had an audit, and overall inoperable. I don't know anybody who's ever had any resolved by any type of judicial, like this commission ever. And the State Bar was so corrupt from the get-go. That is what led me really to going into these politicians and questioning what is going on here. There's nobody in any operation. Everyone's a no jurisdictional jackass. There's nothing that operates. Even back then, I end up in a civil lawsuit against this attorney, Eileen Avila, who defrauded me. I end up fighting a British international law firm called Wilson, Elser, Moskowitz, Edelman, and Dicker. And so I was kind of brought into Britain from way, way back in time. So they came in my matter in 2007, and the way to me, I'm like, there's nobody who's in any authority anywhere. And the State Bar is corrupt. And I was in New York also, when my case went to New York from California. And there they used the Third Appellate Division for a grievance committee. That was inoperable under Cuomo, who was the Attorney General at the time, and totally inoperable. There too, the judicial, they call their, I forget what they call their judicial for the judges. It's called something different. But, none of that operated. And so it just has been a nightmare. And I've had even Kamala Harris in my matter for 6 years. And especially tied to New York, she is the biggest lying fraud imaginable, and the election fraud of them. And the fraud to donors. And just everything is election fraud. I don't know how many times I've taken up election fraud for years I've taken up, that the whole system has to fail. And I think we're really on the verge of that right now with this recent Supreme Court ruling here on abortion, because now you have women up in arms. All sorts of people are up in arms. And I think it's going to be the failure. It's going to be a failure of the judicial system, the three branches of government, the judicial, legislative, and executive branch. And it's going to be a failure of all of these, and it's what's going to bring the military in to finally try and take control of the situation, because it's a nightmare. It's a total nightmare.
Yes.
So,
and that brings me up the abortion issue. Yeah, it's important, but it was never put in the Constitution. The right to kill your babies is left to the states as constitutionally applied. Okay, and now that's fine and dandy, And you would think that why are so many people willing just to get pregnant? And then have babies before get pregnant, just abort them, 100 times, everyone goes out there every day, let's go kill my baby. That's not realistic. And the problem is with that, it's all about money. These guys are making money off of these baby parts. The closer the term, or up the term, the more valuable. So these useful idiots running around out there are only, like you said, the bigger corporations that are paying and using these body parts. And I think that, because they're the ones systems to have this fraud in the guts. People are paid off. How do we fight this crap, Cheryl? I mean,
well, you know what it is? The issue is really everything is so usurped that the states have sovereignty, right? They have state sovereignty, but they're all corrupt. the governors, all of these people are all part of it. And it's a huge cover-up. And Britain's so usurped in, besides other usurpations that are going on, like the Vatican has their aspect, which can also tie into abortion, too. But there's other usurpations. I know of other things, too. I'm not even going to get into. But you know what it is? You can't trust anybody in government. You cannot trust anyone. And so it really needs, it's really an individual right. And that's what should be really taken as. Look, we have children being kidnapped, as Francis knows. There's a big, serious problem with child kidnappings. And they steal children. They violate the Fourth Amendment. This is what they do at houses, too. There's no due process, which is a Fifth Amendment rights violation. And so they just steal children. They're trafficking children. There's, I've been involved in that. I exposed 20 cases of this years ago in 2010. A dear friend of mine had her grandbaby being stolen. Her daughter was murdered. It's a crazy case like you can't imagine. And that was what got me involved with that, with some other activists. But no one will get any help. So they go on about abortion, right? Meanwhile, living families get no assistance. They're just brutalized, traumatized, victimized, assaulted, and it kills. This trauma kills a lot of people. So it's genocide, too. And so you have such a big problem with the human trafficking, be it for sex, it's just foster care adoption schemes or sex trafficking or pedophiles, whatever it may be, So there's all different circumstances going on. But do you see that in the news? You don't see that in the news. The media, the mainstream media covers up all this stuff. So it's really a nightmare what families go through when they are being assaulted in the court system, and it's really corrupt because you're not going to overall get any help from anybody. And so you're really at the mercy of the predators that are in these court systems. And believe me, I've been so assaulted, especially in New York. Oh, my God, I can't even get into that. It's like a nightmare. You can't even imagine for years I went through in that state, how criminal they are, and it's just
available.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. I heard.
It's embedded. These people have been embedded by these corporations, these New World Orderers, and Marxist, communist, physical agendas. I mean, this is beyond being out of the closet. Baby killers, Satanists, people adrenochronists. I mean, like you said, we're at the mercy of them. Now, are we? That's the problem. What can we do? People have to do something. We cannot just sit here, okay, well, we might as well lay down, let them put a foot on our neck and break our skulls, and because we can't do anything. We just said 1776 and not do anything about it. I mean, do you see where I'm going? It's going to have to take a revolution to really address this, to take care of it, because you said it's bad. It's that bad.
Oh, it's really bad. But you don't know it.
We should try to give the law the benefit of the doubt. So when you did Cheryl's introduction, you gave the definition of fraud upon the court. Right, Cheryl?
Yes. A lot of it's fraud upon the court.
So how do you get that to work for you?
Well, that's the thing. You can the whole case is really null and void. I mean, you can null and void judgments, everything in it, because
get it to be enforceable. Right?
Well, actually, I started like 2 months ago in my case in California. I actually have gone back, and it's kind of interesting how, and I notified you guys about this. I had gone back to now the new presiding judge. His name is Leland Davis III. And he was appointed by Schwarzenegger in and around 2010.
I haven't got. How did you have the power to go back to that judge?
I went in and filed my own motions for fraud on the court in my case there. And I said to him, this is a long-time cover-up. I go, the military, I have given the military even all my information, a whole variety of stuff I've given them. And I said, I actually want, because I'm sick of waiting around, I go, my marriage was terminated fraudulently. United Airlines was defrauded. I have fraud in my divorce. It's a fraud in the court. I am defrauded. I have a fraud ruling even.
You got a lot of battles there, Cheryl.
They all, instead colluded to assault me. Even Attorney General Jerry Brown, who he represented Schwarzenegger. They all collude, the bar, that they all pushing me into poverty. Meanwhile, I have a big insurance company, everybody, so I get screwed. And I'm fighting corruption in New York for years, okay, with Kamala Harris and all these people. And so basically I did this with this judge. Meanwhile, they had opened in this court this Scott Peterson case, which I don't know if you know the Scott Peterson case. It's been in the news for the last maybe 2 years now. This was a big case that was a murder back in 2000. I don't know when the murder was, 2002, 2003, but it was going on at San Mateo Superior Court in 2004. And this is the year I filed for divorce, and I'm defrauded by this attorney when there's this judge involved, Commissioner Richard Dubois, who's now titled judge. And he's part of the scheme. And it ends up... I had started about 2 years ago. I was having this big conversation with the San Mateo Board of Supervisors. I said, I exposed a whole bunch of cases here, and my case, I'm waiting for someone to be in authority. There's nobody in any authority, and I want this matter resolved, and blah, 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 right? Well, all of a sudden, they come out with a Scott Peterson case. Meanwhile, it's been sitting dormant for 5, 6 years, and who puts in to overturn it but Kamala Harris, when she's the Attorney General? And I said, I can't believe this is coming up. And then, of course, she's running in the election, right? I said, so, of course, I start speaking out on it. I go, this is a big cover-up going on here. So now this judge, where I went back recently on the fraud on the court, I said, review my whole case. I said, I want a court hearing, I want a divorce decree, and I want my husband to pay me some of what he owes me. Not everything, but everyone blocked me, destroyed our relationship and everything. And in this big fraud on the court and big cover-ups and all that ensues, so all of a sudden, I get a message from this judge, Leland Davis III, that his chambers are going to be dark for a month, which came off on 7/18, right? So about maybe 2 weeks ago, all of a sudden I see the Scott Peterson case is going to be held at San Mateo Superior. Now there's this big cover-up going on there, right? And there's also some people who are tied into that Scott Peterson case who are part of the criminality, or basically they'll do nothing. There are no jurisdictional jackass like the sheriff, who was Don Horsley at the time, and now he's one of these San Mateo Board of Supervisors who I'm speaking to for 2 years now or whatever. And so I make a big statement, and I give this to the military even and stuff. I have all this media that I've had involved for years, and I make a statement, and I have certain people on, and of course the Attorney General in New York, Letitia James, now the Attorney General in California, which is Rob Bonta. I have them all on there, and I said, this needs to come to a head here. I go, you're all colluding, and I've taken this up now about this colluding because you're part of the cover-up, you're part of the election fraud, too, of Kamala Harris in particular. And there's more to that too. But so I make this big statement at 5 o'clock at night, which would be California time, maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon. All of a sudden, the next day they don't have the Scott Peterson case. They say someone has COVID or whatever. I don't know who. And so I make another statement. I said, I don't know if this is faulty because of what I'm saying to them. But because I have Lacey Peterson's mother, her name is Sharon Roca, they're having to relive this. The attorney for the Scott Peterson case, it's such a bullshit reason that Kamala Harris is even opening up this case. But I'm like, Kamala Harris knows that the court structure is so criminal. To ever open this case, there was enough information years ago related, he had gone, Scott Peterson, he had said he had gone to the bay fishing. Meanwhile, a month or two later, all of a sudden his dead wife and baby come up in that day where he had been fishing. You know, there's a whole variety of things that went on. This is years ago, but there's enough reasons to never open that case. Never with the criminality going on and the injustices in these courts. Nevertheless, that court with this big cover-up that she's involved in, where she picked up the case when I subpoenaed Schwarzenegger and I subpoenaed Brown, and I exposed all these other people's cases there. So everyone is colluding to some extent. And so I don't know. Now the case, that Scott Peterson case, is pushed off to, I think it's August 11th, if I'm correct about it. And, you know, that case, this is what needs to end. I mean, I've been victimized here for 18 years in this. Nevertheless, there's a lot of other victims that I exposed there. A lot of people who die, you know, people who died. There's a whole variety of things that go on with people having heart attacks in their divorces. They're being brutalized by this judge, Commissioner Richard Dubois. A lot of women and children being harmed. There's a variety of deaths. You know, it's like you enter these courthouses, you may not come out alive because they will kill you. You know, the trauma is so great. So it's unbelievable, and the injustice, and see, when you realize how much, like in my matter, like I knew DA, his name was James Fox, he's now deceased, and his county attorney's son, Timothy Fox, I knew they were crooked way back. They're all part of it, you know, and so they were part of, I don't know what happens, they violate my jury trial. And so even the jury commissioner could have been involved. Attorney Gloria Allred, I know, is another one. She represented a woman named Amber Fry, who Scott Peterson was having an affair with. His wife, Lacey Peterson, who was like, I forget how many months pregnant she was. It was at Christmas time, and she went missing. And like she was almost ready to give birth almost. And she went missing. Meanwhile, he's having this affair, and Allred was in there. I had gone to Allred because Allred usually represents people in high-profile actor cases. So I'm like, well, Schwarzenegger, he's the governor. You know what? I mean, I didn't choose him to be. You know, I mean, who ever thought I'd be going up calling, you know, Schwarzenegger? I used to write Schwarzenegger handwritten letters. I'm like, this is about right and wrong, good and evil, or what is going on here? And what did he do? He did nothing. Nothing. They did nothing. None of them. You know, they all let me be harmed greater. And so, I mean, I have learned a lot about the system, and I learned, you know, there's so many different things, like, you know, the Illuminati and the Rothschilds, and, you know, there's so many different aspects, like you said, Satanists, and, you know, there's so many different aspects.
How about the Masons? How about the Masons?
Huh?
How about the Masons?
The Masons, I know, there's so many different things, but I stick to really what I know most, and I know the court system, I know the criminality, even in New York, you know, like a prime example, there was a sheriff, Paul Van Block, he's very crooked in New York. I've had it out with him, right? I mean, there's a lot I could go into with him, but yeah, here's Sheriff Van Block. Now, I used to speak with him, and they steal my house in the second scheme, they alter my identity, there's a money laundering scheme, they alter my address. I have no due process. Meanwhile, I sued the county clerk. I mean, I can't stand this county clerk and her crooked sister. A variety of people I can't stand. But because they were like assaulting me in my home. Even Harris was involved in this. Harris. I'm like,
explain that one, Cheryl. I want to hear more about assaulting you in your home.
Oh, they were breaking in. They hired people to break in my home. And they had been doing it for like, I don't know, 2-3 years. Where I mean, I had other break-ins early on, and I sued the county clerk. I sued the county. And, you know, they should have settled it. But they ended up, and I had people coming in my lawsuit. No, they should have settled it. Well, because, and it was coming from California. I had an attorney there stealing it, my house. And it ended up, I even had the sheriff's department serve charges on the county clerk and her sister and 2 other people. And the man who was the chief civil officer at that time, he seemed to protect me. And I would say, have Van Walkham, who was the sheriff, you know, let him know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. So meanwhile, in 2014, I started having people breaking into my house all the time. I would leave my house and someone would enter my house. And I'd be like, oh my God. And meanwhile, I have Kamala Harris. I have Mike Hines, who's the county executive for Ulster County. He's involved. The county attorney, Beatrice Habinet's involved. They will do nothing. They won't send me any help. No one will do anything. So I'm just left at the mercy of whatever's going on. Meanwhile, I don't know that the county clerk's reopening a closed foreclosure that was closed like 5 years or so prior. Reopening it with no due process. They sell my home with no due process. And I don't even know it, or anything. So it ends up into a big thing with me with the sheriff. And I'm not going to even get into some of the things.
I don't understand that, because the power of a clerk, he can close the case for default.
Yeah, but I see.
Let me finish it. But only you can reopen the case to basically prove that you should not have been defaulted. I don't know what other party can do that. Only you can do that.
Yeah, well, she was doing. There's a money laundering scheme. She's altering my identity to a car judgment.
Oh, no, I'm talking about tampering with the record, which I have a case right now. Okay? Tampering with the record. Now we got a crime. Okay? Now we got a crime. Okay? And now I'm saying to the court, because I'm now challenging judicial immunity, of course the trial judge comes in immediately. I dismiss the case with prejudice. None of us can be sued. We have absolute judicial immunity. Right? And I respond.
And that's the problem. That's the problem. I know. You have no immunity to commit crimes. No, you don't. I'm with you on that, Francis.
All right. So then, actually, I found this amazing thing in the state of Florida, where a past attorney general actually writes a little treatise on judicial immunity concerning, non-judicial actions, which is our administrative actions. And if you act administratively, at least in this state, there's no judicial immunity. So they're being blown away by my presentation of this finding by the Attorney General, when it's the Attorney General who the taxpayers are paying to defend the 3 judges and the clerk I'm suing. So it's going to get very interesting, okay? But I wanted, hearing all that you have been saying up to now, I can't help but think that, you would like to wait for the military to step in, but did you know that Rule 60 has special powers, magical powers, okay? You first put in a motion in the existing case for Rule 60A or B or both. Okay, A is like, oh, you made a mistake, please fix it, and B is like fraud upon the court. Okay, fraud, including fraud upon the court. So usually what they do, they're corrupt, they just go, denied, and end of story, right? Not so. Not so, because embedded in the law on the bottom, okay, it says, nothing stops you from taking an independent action for fraud upon the court. And that was graced by the Connecticut case, Hazel Glass Atlas. Have you ever read the Hazel Glass Atlas case, which brought forth the federal Rule 60? Okay, that case is so important for fraud upon the court. You really must read it. Anyway, it gives you equitable rights to sue the basis of fraud upon the court.
Well, I had sued them, but they terminated. I had sued Jamie Dimon. I had reasons to sue Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan Chase, who there's so much fraud in the foreclosures. And I don't want to really get into all of that, but I sometimes wonder if, this is the state of New York, the Empire State, and here's Cuomo, who has been Attorney General and then he's governor for years, and they take no jurisdiction, and so it ends up, I don't know why my case was dismissed, because I had attorneys responding. I had other parties that were sued. I had the county clerk who was sued. So this is why I have all these people end up here. But my case even got even crazier, which I'm not even going to get into. But it's right now for me, like what I'm doing in San Mateo Superior, I did file motions for fraud on the court, and I want a hearing. I want to at least address me and my husband. But because of the fraud of my divorce and all this, and I would like a after 18 years, I'd like a divorce decree.
Never heard.
I'm sorry.
Never heard.
I'm sorry.
They never heard the motion.
He closed the court. He closed his court for a month. He just reopened the other day.
Okay,
so I still have a shot there with him. So I don't know. But now he knows too, because I've made statements how this is a much bigger issue. But so I don't know right now. I've asked for a hearing, and I'm waiting.
I say, please fix your mistake. Tell the judge.
Mm-hmm.
Fix your mistake.
Yes, fix your mistake. I told him.
Okay, fix the mistake, and you lay it out. And then I put a thread in. I said, if you do not fix your mistake, I will, capital, underline, italic, right? I will take a separate action, independent action, and put you as the defendant and me as the plaintiff. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they must like, think about that. Do they really want to go through that? All right. Well, you can make threats all the time, but to follow through with them, I follow through. I have done it. I've taken the fraud and brought it to an independent action, and they don't know what to do with me. So they first hit me with judicial immunity. Oh, we got absolute judicial immunity. And I say, no, you don't. No, you don't. And here's all the law that judges.
No, I know. Well, see, and this is the thing. I said this with the Scott Peterson case. I go, and here I got this whole thing going on. I said, I don't really want you colluding, Judge Davis. I don't want you and the assistant. I don't want any more colluders, because I don't know how many people I have who just collude. And I said, colluding and aiding and abetting are the easiest crimes to become part of. They're very easy, because, so that's what I said. So he just came back the other day, or at least from the message I got. So now I'm waiting to see, if they proceed or something else is going to happen here. So, but, I have a right, in my divorce.
Let me help you with the fraud upon the court, because I've become an expert. Okay.
Okay.
Then we'll go to a break, Frank. But it's that time, and then we will come back with Cheryl and yourself, and also give out a call number just in case anyone would like to put their thoughts or ask questions for Cheryl or Frank, or just to state your experience real quick. But how's that sound, guys? Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, sure.
Sounds good to me.
Go ahead, Frank. Say what you were going to say first.
Well, basically, in my case, I'm doing something different and new, okay? So basically, it goes back to the Sparkman versus Stump case. You know that case, Cheryl? For judicial immunity? Well, the judge looks at the girl, the defendant, and says, "You're retarded. We don't want your kind around in this world. Therefore, I order you to cut out your sexual organs so you can never have babies." You know that one? So then she got married.
No, I don't know that one.
Okay.
That's sick.
Oh, it's totally sick. But it's not, apparently it's not a crime. Okay? It's not a crime. So then it goes, she gets married 2 years later, and she can't have babies. She goes to sue the Judge Stump, right? And so it goes, there's a trial court, gets appealed, and goes all the way to the United States Supreme Court. And there they say, oh, a judge has immunity even for malicious acts. Did you hear what I said? Even for malicious acts, a judge has immunity. And
there should be no reason. There should be no reason they are malicious. There should be no reason they are malicious.
Even for malicious acts, they get immunity. So now,
you know what? me more is that she obeyed it.
Well, they just kind of held her down and they did it. She would have had to run away, and she was retarded, so she was. So that was running away. Her mother was in on it too. So.
That's messed up. So rewards at judgment. I'll tell you that.
Let me just finish quickly. What I'm doing is something different. Okay, I'm taking it to the next step. So I told you about malicious acts. What about when you commit a crime? Okay? All right, the crime in my case is they tampered with the record. And they were able then to dismiss my case because they tampered with the record. I'm not going to get into it. Okay? Well, basically, they said they wrote a paper, put it into the record that I was not appealing what I said I was appealing. I was appealing what they say I was appealing. Get it? Totally illegal. They tampered with the record. So then, that's a crime. It's a misdemeanor. It's important. So I'm saying jurisdiction is defined by legal power to act. One cannot say that a criminal activity is legal power to act. And that's the basis of my case. Okay? And if I win that, I'm going to change the law all around the country. And I look forward to, because I don't know what they can say. To act criminally is legal power to act. Yeah. If you do that, you're going to get a revolution on the courts.
Well, this becomes such criminals. These counties have become so criminalized. I mean, they're just so bad, the criminality going on in these counties. And because, one, like the county attorney, no one ever wants to settle anything with people, and that's what I've encountered, is the part of settle. Like years ago in my case in California, so if they settled, right, I have a fraud ruling, they're firing. The judge was so crooked, they're violating my jury trial, and then he makes that I owe $4,500. That's what he enters with this Wilson Elser in him. And I'm like, really? At that time, I didn't know what a default judgment was. But that's what they enter. Meanwhile, they violated my jury trial and everything. And I have, Schwarzenegger, and then because the bar is so corrupt. And, but you know what? If all they had to do was fix their problems. Today I was reading a story about how a new San Francisco DA came in, and she's getting rid of a whole bunch of people. And that is what needs to happen. They just clean these criminals in these positions, and they just keep committing more crimes because they get away with it. And, and then they commit more and more and more crimes. And they don't want to settle anybody's claims, as much as you fight and people who do fight back. And, it becomes, and look at the amount of money that they steal, the monetization that goes on, which the Federal Reserve needs to go, as you've known the SARA going on for how many years now, right, to bring in a new money system. We need a real U.S. Treasury, not the Federal Reserve, because so much of this government is built on these private corporations from way back in time, so...
On that note, we're going to go to a break, but you're exactly right, and that's the problem. Now, Frank kind of mentioned it, the 1776 and speak again, because how long are we going to tolerate this, and everyone's just brainwashed and follows along, and, I got fucked again, well, okay, continue living with my life, continue doing so, and that is, then no one will care about the Constitution, because everyone's ignorant of it.
Oh, they don't care at all. That's why the rights are so violated. So many people are living in conspiracies. So many families are living in conspiracies from the criminality going on, and there's just no justice. It's so broken.
That's all. Then I'm going to go to a break. Please mute your mics. Exactly. There's no justice, everybody. So please mute your mics. We'll be back in 5 minutes. All right. Incredible. Welcome back, everyone. This is your host. You're listening to In the Interest of Justice. And really interesting subject getting into today. We're still scratching the surface. That's Canadian. Cheryl, I don't know where you're at. Are you outside, Cheryl?
I am outside. I'm on a pier.
That wind, it's coming in, but that's cool. Oh, that must be a nice site where you're at. I haven't been out of pier in a long time. I don't know if I'll ever have that opportunity again. But I want to bring up about what I was saying earlier, everyone, is the fact of it's called HR 4350. Now this thing is so. It's the type of shit that you see in a third world country. And this means that Republicans will never be able to hold the POTUS position again, because this basically is a martial law, red alert. Democrat leadership introduced that bill to give Biden or any other president Okay, once he's out, I think they're going to get rid of this, this toad, and gives them the powers of a dictator and uses the military against the right wing, which means all us white supremacist, bigot terrorists that we call we the people, constitutionalists, and get this, everybody, with no congressional oversight.
Well, the whole Congress needs to go. The whole Congress. They don't represent us. They don't represent us.
Therefore, that's my problem. How are we going to take this nation back in the courts when it seems obvious it's never going to happen, especially when this thing gets put forth and, the UN, which is the commie chinks, because they're the security forces, they hit the UN, correct? They're going to send their forces in.
Yeah, we don't want the UN in. We don't want the UN.
Start firing.
Well, that's I was going to bring up before. This is what I wanted to state before when I was talking about this Sheriff Van Blarkum. Now, Van Blarkum, I was one time talking to him. He took the Second Amendment stand. I think he wanted to be a constitutionalist. And actually, that area, Ulster County, New York, is very much from the Revolution. There's a lot tied to the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Back in that time, and that there's a lot of history, but he also was an international police, and so international police are generally British. He's also done stuff with the FBI. I've never seen the FBI ever work with anything tied to court corruption at all. So this is many years, and I started writing to them many years ago. But this is the big problem. Some of these police, and now I've done a big thing on policing in New York and California to show how the police do not operate, and even using the state troopers and your local policing, sheriffs, they just won't police. At least any of the criminals who are in these counties or in the state governments. And so, but the big thing is who's really also international police. And so you don't really know. Who knows, who these police officers are. And
streets, international cops, international law, international troops. We cannot have that. Then we are surely done.
No, we can't have it. And your sheriffs are supposed to be the most lawful policing. Sheriffs are supposed to be the most lawful policing, but they were intentionally broken down, especially with all the criminality of the foreclosures. And, with these sheriff departments. So the other day I saw something about these sheriffs calling themselves constitutional sheriffs. Now, maybe they are, because there are, of course, people who are playing both sides sometimes. You don't know. And, but are they really constitutional sheriffs? Because
they're infiltrated.
You don't know how infiltrated they are. Plus, how much have they been involved in the theft of the foreclosures, unless they had some sort of firewall protecting them and some division of their operation. But that was an intentional breakdown of society. And they stole millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of homes unlawfully in one of the biggest frauds ever to touch this country. I mean, I don't know how many homes were stolen, because if you really got to know all the finer points of these foreclosures, where people, don't have any lawful right to these homes, who become part of the debt, be it the debt collector system, and that's the biggest fraud too. It's amazing what has gone on, and this is no policing. You never see anybody being policed at all, generally. So it's really sad what people have had to live through, and the amounts of families have lost, and and how these bankers, and especially, which a lot of that is a big part of this problem with the Federal Reserve, and there's just so many aspects of so many problems. It's unbelievable.
If there's anyone out there that could relate to anything that Cheryl's saying, and that's just all over the place, call in 202-684-6955. Daryl, hopefully you're there. 202-684-6955. One more. 202-684-6955.
And Gary,
so all this fraud and corruption, everything going on, how we use the courts in our Constitution against those who are tearing it down, especially with this new bill even though, it's one party, but they got the world forces, security forces behind them, and these, central bank systems, and you mentioned it earlier, all these groups, and including Davos and the World Economic Forum. This is their plan, and they're escalating it, in fact, because apparently everything didn't go according to plan. But the other stuff is that can make a difference to maybe where they'll win, to take away our food supplies. You know what I mean? All right?
You never know what they'll do. Well, they create incidences. Like the incident on January 6th was, to me, a created incident. They created that incident, and it was. And actually, this is very interesting, this January 6th committee, because there's a woman on that committee, Zoe Lofgren. Zoe Lofgren is in the San Francisco Bay Area. She's been a congresswoman, I don't know, for like 30 years. She's an attorney, too. There's tons of corruption in the Bay Area, but she's a judiciary member for many years, too, House Judiciary. And I wrote her many, many years ago. I've dealt with all those politicians. They all just turn a blind eye. And, and I made statements, too, to Liz Cheney, because Liz Cheney, if you look up her bio, she's been an international bar attorney, British. They're all pretty much British. They all pretty much are usurped British. They need to be American lawyers. That's my thing. They need to get rid of the bar completely, and everybody is an American lawyer. And if there's need be something, no country signs on to Britain to do business. It's bullshit. We're one of the most stupidest countries, and this has happened many years ago. It started many years ago. But a lot of these people are, playing that they are British, and I think that's an aspect why they don't give a shit about violating the Constitution. And so even what was hysterical, Liz Cheney was saying we're a constitutional republic. Well, we're supposed to be a constitutional republic, a republic like in the Pledge of Allegiance. But what this nation is not. It's a corporate, it's a corporate government, so usurped. It's unbelievable. And
when they fall, they do not have the right to take us down and overpower us and become our new overlords because they fell as a corporation. I do know the motto that when, we're in debt to China, right, for trillions or whatever it was, and I should say that should be wiped clean when this is done, but anyway, that any company that folds, whoever they're going to come take that over that company. What's the first thing they do? They clean their shells up as stock. We are the stock.
Well, there are. Well, we all are really. I from things I've read in the past. I believe with the 14th Amendment, we were all enslaved in the 14th Amendment, and so now there's a lot of talk. I don't know. I shared something with you from Rumor Mill News the other day. that things are going on to restore the nation. The military is really the only way. And, but, I hope, and to reseat a whole new government. And to me, you have to get rid of Democrat, Republican bullshit. There's no meaning to it at all. And it's how much time is wasted with nonsense, bickering and going on. And the whole money in the elections has to go. The campaign finance has to go. They could, there's so many changes that are needed. And to come down on the election fraud that has been going on, because I've been doing things on election fraud for years. I've done it with county employees. I've done it with all people. Even it's very.
Cheryl, do you believe that we should have voting IDs? I believe so.
Voting what?
Voter IDs.
What did you say? Voter ID? I don't know. I haven't really given it much thought to make a decision on that. I haven't voted in years because I know it's all a fraud. I'm not going to vote for these people. I've gone to them, and I know everyone's a no jurisdictional jackass. All these politicians, and so they don't represent me. I mean, I could go into different things with these politicians. This is back, starting. Because I was like, what the fuck is going on? I mean, I'm like being brutalized, and then I'm meeting all these people being brutalized in this court. I'm like, what in the hell is going on? And I was on a crisis team. And so I was like, there's something serious. And then I'm like, I remember years ago when the first time I started writing letters, I started writing and doing all sorts of things. I wrote so many letters. It's unbelievable. But, or emails. But I remember saying in one of my first letters, I believe Britain is usurped into the nation, you know? And I remember thinking, you know, and I remember calling the state bar, I used to call it the State Bar of Organized Crime, you know? And I'm like, I can't believe this is going on. And I'm just one person, you know? And nevertheless, how many people are affected? You know, so it's unbelievable and how covered up it is, you know, especially in the news. You know, the only people who talk about it are like shows like this or, you know, and even I've gone to shows even that do reveal things like InfoWars is a prime example. He does conspiracy and stuff, but he won't touch the courts, you know, so I don't understand why not.
On him that he has no rights to contest it. He's automatically guilty when he comes in. No witnesses. He cannot, you know, it's bullshit. And that he cannot claim, you know, speak of the First Amendment to be able to claim of any. He's guilty, and they want him off the air, and they're using these tactics onto him and the many to do to the rest of us. That's their new model. That January 6th. That type of system has got to be taken out, and I hope the military and Trump are working on it, because if not, we got to be, and soon.
Yeah, I know. Well, I do believe there are things going on, but, you know, I've been a believer of that for many years, and to me, it really needs to come to a head here. I think this whole thing just now with the D.C., because to me, that's been a ruse for years. You know, they make you think the Constitution is abided by, but it's not. And there's so many families who could, you know, reveal that fact. And that's the thing about court crimes. As Francis will understand, especially, you're documenting your crime. Who commits crimes documenting them? That's the thing about them. You know, I mean, it's like, how stupid of crooks are they? But they are, because they know no one does anything and they don't give a shit. But you know, they document their crimes, and so it's easy to prove. You know, so so it's mind-boggling. Some days I say to myself, I can't believe I'm an American violator for 18 years here, and there's still nobody in here who's in an authority. You know, even the military. I even yell at them sometimes and stuff and go off on them. You know, because I'm like, where the freak are you? I command my freedom and shit. And every American commands their freedom from this bullshit. You know, and it's just unbelievable.
Justice. Indeed, and that's why this show exists, in the interest of justice, because it is in the interest of justice, because that's what makes a nation or breaks a nation, and they use this against us to break this nation, dumb us down, and give it away, and we cannot allow this any longer. The Constitution, the living, breathing document.
It's enemies from within. Enemies from within, like, you know, they had all these, they always made the enemies outside, you know, where it's overseas, but, you know, the enemies alive and well right here on our shores, lots of them, lots of enemies, you know, it's so terrible.
Do you think President Trump and the military is going to step in? I think, Frank, you may agree to that. I certainly have high hopes of devolution, but what do you guys think, Frank?
I do think Trump is part of taking back the nation. And so, but you know, I don't know how it all plays out. You know, I don't know, but I do believe Trump is part, as he was, even when he was at that insurrection. Trump has been one of the few people speaking about the Constitution who's a politician, you know, in his speeches and stuff like that, and making America great again.
Yep, that's why they hate him. It takes it away from there.
That's right.
Not ours. It's theirs. Just like all the property and the farmlands and the food, it's theirs. Just like all the energy, it's theirs. They want us eating bugs and eating grass. Bullshit. I'm an American. I eat beef. You need beef.
I know.
You know, but hey, it's just everyone else. And maybe if we take this nation back, we'll rid all these tyrants off the face of the earth, because they're rising up in many other nations now. No one's going to tolerate them taking their cattle, taking their livelihoods, taking their food in order to help us thrive. They want to kill us all by 95%. Again, look at the stones, remember?
Oh, a lot of it, a lot of it's genocide. And a lot of this, supposedly this is going to be like a big world, like Sri Lanka was you know, there's been a bunch of governments having changes going on and stuff like that. It's supposed to be a big world thing. But to me, as an American, being in this for 18 years, you know, to me, this nation should have been first and foremost. Now, I don't care, you know, I mean, I don't want to see the world nations also, you know, corrupt. But to me, they should have been in here years ago restored. I mean, I thought under Obama it was going to be restored, but it hasn't. And so it's dragged on and dragged on. And it's just crazy that it's still in existence. I realize the problems are big, but it's ridiculous.
Obama fooled many, and many ran black president. He used that as a guise, just like the evil and devil does. Use it as a disguise to come in and do what they want to do to destroy the country, because he's a commie Marxist Islamist also. But it's okay. We're all the white supremacists. I mean,
I know. Well, that was so funny. Instead of that, it was all patriots. Trump has all these patriots, and now in the media, everybody was a white supremacist, you know. But I was like, oh my gosh! I go, unbelievable. But you know, but the media has all these international bar attorneys, the British media. See, one of the things President Trump did supposedly do. Now, see, Trump came into the de facto government. I mean, it's a de facto government, but one of the things he did do was he supposedly made about foreign interference, which the media in alone is very usurped. There's a lot of international British bar attorneys in all these medias, and some of the media is owned by, like, Rupert Murdoch. You know, he's British and stuff, or from Australia. He's actually, they're more friendly with Trump nowadays, but or they'll at least put him on the air. But
well, that's my segue, Cheryl. Okay, so I urge you to go see my documentary on the original 13th Amendment.
You did a doc. I didn't know you did a documentary on the original 13th Amendment.
All right, this is not the Emancipation Amendment. Okay. This was an amendment before, which basically I'll read it to you. It's very short.
Okay.
If any citizen of the United States shall accept, claim, receive, or retain any title of nobility or honor, or shall, without the consent of Congress, accept and retain any present pension, office, or emolument of any kind whatsoever from any emperor, king, prince, or foreign power, such party shall cease to be a citizen of the United States and shall be incapable of holding any office of trust or profit under them or either of them.
Therefore, their democracy.
Well, it's all titles of nobility.
Right.
It's all titles of nobility.
Lawyers, Esquire.
Yep. That's right, Esquire. And how many governors are Esquire? A lot. A lot of governors are Esquire.
So if you see my documentary, right? I found David Dodge, the one who broke the broke the research about the original titles of nobility.
Nobility.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so basically, it's illegal in the Constitution to have a title of nobility, but it did state a punishment. The 13th Amendment stated the punishment. You're no longer a citizen, and no, you cannot hold an office in government. Okay. So the problem was it was not absolutely proven that the 13 states amended it. Ratified it, I should say. Ratified it.
Oh, okay.
But Gus Brett, he has actually proven that it was ratified by all 13 states. So it's an involved story, but the United States military adheres to the original 13th Amendment, and that's big. Okay? It's actually in their military manuals.
Oh, really? Okay.
Right? So when they come in...
Frank, the military is under severe attack because they're being weeded out, too, of anyone that believes in the Constitution or any potential fraud in the voting. They're being forced with the commie death shots to decimate our military.
That's changing. That's being challenged.
Which military is going to be the ones to come forth and do anything about it if they're being decimated and weeded out?
Well, it looks like there's an attempt to weed it out, but there's a lot of white hats in the picture, and they're preventing it. And in time for the military to be able to potentially act
in the event of election fraud. Now, the
There's a lot
military
of-
has its own intelligence services.
There's
They
the
have-
treason.
Huh?
There's the treason, Frank, not just the voter fraud they should act on. There's the treason and the overthrow of our nation and the boot coming
Well,
down
voter
on.
fraud is
Right
treason,
now.
right? Voter
More-
fraud is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's treason.
And we have a government in place that overthrew our legit government who are trying to enact their
Just for
force.
now, but we'll have the last laugh.
I'm hoping,
Yeah.
Frank, you're confident. I'm glad you're confident.
I'm
know.
pretty confident.
Well,
You really
it's all
think Biden's
treason and
gonna-
sedition.
You really think Biden's going to live out his term?
No. Well, yeah. Well, here's Kamala Harris is a prime person, titles of nobility. Obama was titles of nobility. Clinton was titles of nobility. Any of these bar attorneys, and you know what? A lot of them knew this whole thing. You know what I mean? I think a lot of them. I mean, they call it the British, bar, British Admiralty. I've seen it many years ago, British Admiralty Registry, and then it's British.
Right.
I've seen it British Accreditation Registry, and and if you look at all the bar associations, they're predominantly global. So they're signing on. If you look up International Bar Association, you'll see how many bar they mention it. Actually, they're infiltrating into South Korea and I think it was Brazil with the International Bar Association. But no other nation is really going to ever sign on to Britain for their law to come. If they're going to come to U.S. to do business, they're not going to go through Britain to do business with us. You know what I mean? I mean, it's ridiculous. So, but there's lots of titles of nobility
this is
in
the crux
government.
of Gary's case, okay? And the civil forfeiture. Right away, they forced down his throat that he's under admiralty law, okay? And so Gary did the right thing from get-go, okay? I don't accept your jurisdiction, okay? And the supreme law of the land overrules admiralty law. So
And that's
their
the
system
Constitution.
is a landmark in many ways. In many ways, okay? The other thing in his case that he's going to do, he's going to get rid of the thing being a party over him, the person who owns the party. No more of that. And we have Justice Scalia making his comments in the Austin case, saying that the whole thing is ridiculous, it needs to be changed. So
Yeah, it's a mess. It really is a mess, and you can see why it has taken a long time. But I pray they come in. I'm gonna have to go, you guys. I gotta get.
And lawyers won't make the challenge because they have to go in front of the judges day in and day out, and they don't want the judges to rule against them, so they don't make the challenge. So who makes the challenge? People like you and me, pro se.
Me, I know. I know. I've always challenged everybody. I'm always up everybody out. I'm always giving it to someone. So, but thank you so much, you guys. I have to go. I have to go back to work, and so
Thank you for definitely got to have you
okay.
back.
Oh,
Well, thank you so much for having me.
It was fun. We'll
I
have you
appreciate
again,
it.
okay?
Okay, sounds good, guys. Keep it up.
Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye.
All right, bye.
Okay,
So-
one thing I want to say about Cheryl, she says, and they didn't come and settle my case. Okay, I want to tell everybody, that's good, okay, if you want to change the law. Because if you settle a case, it never becomes an issue that was solved in the courts
Right.
to create change. It was settled. And it's like...
Criminality in place. The court's criminality in place. Or another.
Exactly. It covers it up. Maybe the settlement on a money level is okay, but, issues are never litigated in a
Well,
settlement.
she definitely seems to know her shit. She's been through a lot, many different subjects, getting a lot out there. So in time and in each particular subject, she'll probably come in to speak about, one of those subjects at a time or whatnot. Who knows? I mean, there's so much going on. And speaking about justice and the interest of justice, New York City judge, Frank, dropped the murder charge against Dominican bodega worker who fatally stabbed the attacker in self-defense. Alba family. I mean, Alba fatally stabbed Austin Simon. You know, privileged black privilege rather, individual. Austin Simon, 35, a career criminal who violently attacked him behind the counter a couple weeks ago.
Self-defense.
According to reports, Austin Simon's girlfriend got into an argument with Alba after the EBT card was declined when she tried to purchase a bag of chips. And I could feel the disgruntlement there. That's fucked up. But that ain't the guy's fault. And the disgruntled woman then left the bodega, ran home, and returned with her thug black privileged boyfriend. And that's when the confrontation escalated. According to Alba's defense lawyer, the 32-year-old woman took a knife out of her purse and stabbed the bodega worker in the shoulder, the New York Post reported. Wow. She is not facing charges for stabbing Jose Alba, but Jose Alba was charged with second-degree murder for fatally stabbing Austin Simon after the assailant stabbed him and violently attacked him. Now,
And then the judge let him off. Is that what you said?
yeah, but here's the problem. It took 2 weeks for anyone to have the balls and for the judge to make a move on this, or maybe the prosecutor. I
That's
didn't
not
read
very much time in terms of the court. That's fast.
but still, you're missing the point. What happened to that other black privileged individual who shot a couple people? They released them, only a few hours later to be able to show up back in court for attempted murder? Why is this double standard? There's a war on whites. They say white privilege, white supremacists. How when the war is on whites? And it's using one race against another to split Americans apart, to which they've infiltrated, took over our court systems, are using against us all, and they're pitting us not to focus on them so that we 1766 their ass, but we all fight amongst each other here on the streets. That destroys us and tears us down. Again, and the courts doing their thing to solidify their position, of which is what? Their democracy, which we're getting a taste of what their court system's going to be like by the January 6 hearings. That's the new model that's going to replace we the people in our Constitution, in our constitutional homeland, rules, rights, and Constitution, laws, to replace that. Remember, they're all against that. This is sick. And they're replacing it with people from replacing us, with other people coming across the border to replace us, to have our homes, to dispel us, to slave us, to kill us off with the commie shots and let them thrive, because they're already come from shithole nations, and I'll say it right outright, that already have some type of the boot living on them, and they surely will love to get their bodies here and what we the people haven't had and take it as their own, and then they think they're going to be safe for what the democracy has got coming upon them. We are at an existential threat and an existential position. That's why our show logo, Lady Justice, walking blind there, starting to raise her sword and the storm's coming behind her. This is
I think the threat lies if we give illegal immigrants voting rights. Without them going through the proper procedure.
That's why I asked Cheryl about the voter ID. She didn't seem very fond. I don't know.
Democrats are conspiring to do as quickly as possible to give illegal immigrants voting rights. Why? Because they know that the illegal immigrants will be voting Democratic, not Republican. And it's their last-ditch effort to have power, but it's not going to work.
Right, and that's why they're counting on this HR 4350. Again, you see in third world shithole African countries, this is bad, and they're accepting then when they come in and being telling us that this bill calls us all, basically everything that we've talked about. And I'm not being vulgar; they're being vulgar. They're the ones that want to kill us and destroy this nation. Am I supposed to sit here and talk peacefully, afraid for them to hear that we need the 1776 their ass for real? 1776 protests and flag waving does not take it back, nor will us. Power in the courts, or will it? We've yet to see, but someone needs to step in. A military or something, because remember, these people coming up, they're going to be all in with those who let them in, which is this new government that we see as an example of what the future will be, as this January 6th committee. They don't mind. They'll be accepting.
But did you see what happened with that Roe versus Wade, Gary? You see what happened with that Roe versus Wade? Forget the issue of abortion, right? It gave the power back to the states.
That's how it was meant to be to begin with.
The right wasn't defined in the Constitution. Well, guess what? What are states rushing to do right now? The states are making border protection. Did you read about that?
That's
and there's nothing that the federal government can do when the states decide to act.
And yet, but here's one question, Frank. Why didn't they finish the wall in their states? They need to shut that thing down because the majority of people.
They're going to finish them.
It's not finished.
They're going to finish them.
Oh, yeah. We let in a few million fucking terrorists, real people that are against us, transsexuals, people bringing in diseases, third world, disease and everything else. Terrorists, remember, they're going to side with them. And as this bill unfolds...
For now, but you think that the Democrats will be in power in 6 months?
Right. You're not listening.
Yeah.
This HR, it's not a guessing bill. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. They're going to set us on the martial law. The UN's going to come in, and all these people that are coming in from the shithole nations, they're going to side with them and also come into our homes. They're going to kill us. Do you understand that? They're going to rape our women. They're going to claim our homes because what are we anyway? We are what they are, the right wing that they're going to take out. That's put in camps, kill off.
Not going to work, Gary. Have a little, confidence.
Are you confidence and hope in who? In who? Because Trump needs to be addressing these issues, not just the voter fraud. This is much deeper than voter.
Trump did address the issues. He's the one who brought it out. All right, so did you say it was HR 4350?
4350. You could go to band.video, scroll down.
I looked up in Congress.
Wow, why do you choose?
HR 4350. Okay. And guess what I conclude right off.
So let me say what I'm saying first, but go ahead.
All right. It's huge. There's so many things said in it. And I'm trying to find that. I mean, during this radio show, it's very difficult to find that one part that gives them the right to round people up. Okay? So I haven't found it yet, but the bill is huge. It's covering so many bases.
And you can hear a lot about this from July 17th. Go to band.video, just scroll down to July 17th. You'll see martial law, red alert, Democrat leadership introduces bill to give necessarily Biden or any other president.
Well, I go straight to the bill, and I read the bill to see what it says. I don't trust what anybody says about it.
Yeah, but Frank, if they go there, a lot of it's already been looked into. You're just skimming of what has already been brought out.
For now, I can only
out. So I'm glad you're bringing that up. We'll need to add that link to the bill itself that you're reading. We'll add that to the archive page, and I will add up the videos from Alex Jones speaking about this important issue, because they are trying to come in and do a sly one. And I hope our military white hats are ready to make a move before they have a toehold and a foot on our throat in this country. Because I'm telling you, and I don't give a shit if anyone accepts what I'm saying or not, come knock on my fucking door. I see one blue hat. His hat's gonna be blown off his head. And I'm not just saying that myself.
Right. If the ones in power are writing executive orders or whatever to allow the United Nations, the blue hats, to come in and start enforcing in our country,
and that'll be
we have a problem. Okay, that's treasonous.
That'll be, Frank, no shit. What do you think they're doing? They're destroying our country regardless of laws, regardless of our goodwill, regardless of our good emotions and feelings, regardless of our protests and flag waving. They're going to put the boot down on us whether we like it or not. That is their plan. And I am not, as an American, going to take that shit. And then we'll deal with the court systems. They all have to be done with. That's why the White Hats need to act. Because if not, it's going to get bloody real soon. Come knock on my door, fucking traitors.
Yeah. Do you see those notes from Daryl right now? He says there's problems with the broadcast. Do you see that?
That's all right. I'm recording anyway. It's going to be on an archive page. Clear music.
Well, that's, yeah, we're going to be powerful in the archive. Okay, so there's a lot of things going on with this bill, and I have yet to find the section, and there's like hundreds of sections. I've yet to find the section that addresses how they can arrest everybody and round people up. So, well, maybe that's fodder for the next show. Okay.
Yes, it is, and again, in the interest of justice, we're going to help Lady Justice walk as she walks blindly with the storm coming in, as she's there for we the people. So we got to shut down now. Daryl's got an appointment. Thank you very much, brother. And in the interest of justice, as an American, and get this, he's black. Oh my God! Like that don't matter. He's still a white supremacist terrorist. Why? But I'm black. Well. That's because you're skin folk, not kinfolk. Bigot. You see? This is crazy of what they're doing to us. So in the interest of justice, until next week, all I know is that the writing's on the wall.
Darkness is coming 'cause the writing's on the wall. We talk in the twilight and wait for rain to fall. On our own we face what is coming 'cause the writing's on the wall. Into this waking dream as darkness falls. On our own, you and me, baby, when the writing's on the wall. We cling to the outline of these buildings tall. In New York, the skyline is falling 'cause the writing's on the wall. We are future bloodline, living once and for all. We wait for the darkness that's coming 'cause the writing's on the wall. Into this waking dream as darkness falls. On our own, you and me, baby, when the writing's on the wall. Lost inside the data stream, under nightfall. On our own, you and me, baby, when the writing's on the wall. On our own, you and me, baby, when we're writing on the wall. Lost inside the data stream, under nightfall. On our own, you and me, baby, when we're writing on the wall. When we're writing on the wall. Writing on the wall.
All right, hold up and let's get my sound back. Where the fuck is it? Whoops. Hey Gary, where the fuck is it?